All right, so welcome to this video. Let us look at a question on the applicational part of the normal distribution. So converting to z-scores and then also finding the probability using the z-scores. Okay, so the question says the weights of students in a certain college follow a normal distribution with mean 70 kg and a standard deviation of 8 kg. Find the probability that the student selected at random has a weight, okay, and then we're given these different scenarios. So first of all, I'm going to say let x, okay, let this x represent the weight, okay, of a student. Okay, let x represent the weight of a student, and now they're asking us to find probabilities. Okay, of course, we're going to need the mean. The mean there, we've been told it's 70 kgs. And then the standard deviation, sigma, we've been told it's what? 8 kgs. So now we've been asked to find the probability, okay, that the weight, which is indicated by x, is actually less than what? 75 kgs. So how can we find this probability? We need to standardize, okay, this x here. So to standardize it, we're going to say z-score is simply equals to x minus the mu divided by the standard deviation. Okay, so we need to standardize this. And here is a link or a hint, okay? When finding the probabilities using the z-score, the sign that you should have here should always be less than or equal to. So meaning that if you have a greater than or equal to, you should always find a way in which you convert this into a less than. Convert this into a less than or what? Or equal to. Okay? Always. Because these probabilities, you don't calculate them. You are simply read from the table. And from that table, it's only possible if the x is less than something, or the x is less than or equal to something. Okay, so meaning this here will just be, let's standardize. So when I standardize this x, okay, I'll just subtract the mean from here and then divide by the standard deviation, and that will just give me the z. Then less than. Then from this guy, I do the same. I subtract the mean, which is 70, and I divide by the standard deviation, which is 8. So meaning this probability here will be that z is less than. On top, I'm going to have 5 divided by 8. So now, what is 5 divided by 8? It's going to give me 0.625. So now here is another hint or secret. When you go on the Z distribution table, you always find numbers, okay? You will find numbers that are rounded off to 2 decimal places, okay? So whatever number you have here, always round it off to 2 decimal places, okay? Or if you want to find using 3 decimal places, then you'd have to use interpolation. So now interpolation is quite lengthy and it involves a lot, okay? So for us to just make our calculations simpler, we're going to be rounding these off to 2 decimal places. So this probability will be this approximately the same probability as when z is less than 0. When I round off to be 63, like that. Okay, and then now I can find this value on my z distribution what? Table. Okay, so now let's check out the z distribution table. Okay, so we want to find the probability that the z is less than 0.63. So now, the first 2 numbers here, I always found in the first column here. Okay, and the last one, this one, okay, you write it as 0.0 and then the last number. So that one will just be 0.03. So that one, you find it in the first row here. Okay, so where can I find 0.6? So 0.6 is there. And if I go in this row, where can I find 0.03? I'll find it there. So now to find the answer, you're just going to go in this 0.6, we're moving to the right, okay? And in this 0.03, we are coming down. So we see that these 2 matuaros are going to meet in this box. So that there will be the answer, okay? 0.7375. So I'll then go to my to my open board. Okay, I don't know where the open board has gone. Okay, it's here. So I've then got to my open board here, and I'm going to say, okay, this here is just 0.73 and then 7 what? 5. Okay, so that is the probability that X, or the weight, is actually less than what? 75 kgs approximately. Okay, so always whatever number you have here, round it off to 2 decimal places because we can't find 3 decimal places there. Okay, so the interpretation there will just be that approximately, okay, about if I convert this to percent, meaning I just multiply it by 100, approximately to be approximately 73.7 5%. Okay, 73.57% of the students weigh less than what? 75 kgs. Okay, let's look at the second part. So the second part, we are simply going to do the same. So here now they're saying find the probability, okay, that the weight is greater than what? 68. So I told you that we always have to make this guy to be a less than, or less than or equal to. So this one, by the complement rule, is the same as 1 minus the probability that X is less than or equal to what? 63. Okay, so where am I getting this rule? It's simple. Okay, so probability that X is greater than a certain number plus the probability that this X is less than or equals to the same number should always be equals to 1. So now I add this. So meaning I take this guy to the other side. Okay, so that's the complement rule anyway. So this will just be 1 minus, and then we can standardize this now. So when I standardize the X, I get Z. Okay, and then what happens when I standardize this? So it will be 68 minus the mean 70 divided by 8. So I get minus 2 over 8. So now minus 2 over 8 gives me minus 0.25. Okay, so here now it depends with the tables that you have. If you don't have the negative z-score table, then you would need to convert this into a positive z-score. Okay, but if you have, then you can just use it directly. So I'm going to do both so that you see that it works. So let's go first with the first one. So this will be 1 minus. What is the probability that z is less than 0, is less than minus 0.25? So now when I go to my table here, this table that I have here is for positive z-score. You can see positive, 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 positive. So now on top of this, I have the negative z-score table, which is this one here. Okay, I have the negative z-score table, this one. So now remember we are finding the probability that z is less than minus or equal to, anyway, it doesn't matter if you write less than or less than or equal to 0.25. Okay, so it means the first numbers here, I should find them in the column. And then the 0.05, I should find it here. So the 0.05, it's somewhere there. I've already seen it. And then here, I'm now looking for 0.2. Okay, so let's move like that. So where's the 0.2? Okay, so the 0.2 is actually there. So I'm going to the right like that, and then this was the column for the 0.01. So I'm coming down in this column. So you see that this row, this arrow and this arrow are meeting there. So that is the answer there. Okay, so that is the probability that z is less than or equal to 0 minus 0.25. So 0.4013. So I'm going to write here 0.4013. And then now I'm just going to subtract. Okay, I'm going to subtract. So now if I subtract 1 minus 0.4013, I'm going to get 0.5987. So this here is my probability, okay, that the weight is greater than 68. So now here I use the negative z-score table. Okay, but now what do you do in case you don't have the negative z-score table, right? So the answer here, let's write it here. It's this guy. And then we compare it. If we change this to a positive z-score. So now this here, okay, if you want to change this to a positive z-score, you use what we call a symmetry. So now symmetry says that if I have probability of Z, okay, being less than a negative number like this here is the same as the probability that Z is greater than the same number, but now with a positive sign like that. Okay, by symmetry rule. So we have to master this. So put this in your mind. Okay, this A here can be any number. So meaning this here will just be 1 minus, and this here by symmetry will be the probability that Z is now greater than or equals to the positive side of this. Okay, and then now, since I have greater than, I always have to change to less than. I can change this. So this will be minus, and then the complement rule applies here. So it will be 1 minus the probability that Z is less than 0.25. Okay, multiply throughout by the negative, I get 1 minus 1 plus probability that Z is less than 0.25. So now this here gives me 0. So I just remain the probability that Z is less than positive 0.25. So now let's find this to see if it's going to give me that same answer. Okay, so let's go to the positive Z-score table. So the positive Z-score table, I have it below here. So now we are looking for the probability that Z is less than 0.25. So 0.2, it's in here, so I find it there. And then 0.05, it is there. So I go like that, then I come like that. So they meet in this box, and that box has 0.5987. So 0.5987. And you see that it gives us the same answer. Okay, so if you have the negative Z-score table, take advantage and just find fast. But if you don't have, use the symmetry, and then after the symmetry, use the complement, and then you'll be able to find the same answer. Okay, so that's all for this part of the question. Let's look at this one here, the third one. Uh-oh. Anyway. Okay, let's look at the third guy. So here now they're saying find the probability, okay, that the weight X is between 80 or 65. So now here, guys, we are doing with the continuous um, distribution here. So it doesn't really matter if you have less than or equal to, less than or equal to there, or just less than. It doesn't really matter because the normal distribution is continuous. Okay, doesn't matter. So the one who writes equal to, less than or equal to, and you doesn't, who just write less than, it's the same thing. Okay, so now the rule here is that probability of A, let A be any number, being between X being between A and B. This here is just written as a probability of X less than B minus probability of X less than A. So that is the rule. Whenever you have a situation where you have X in between the numbers. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. So this will just be equals to, okay? Or before we do that, we can actually standardize. Okay, so if I standardize the X, I get the Z. But now if I standardize the 65 to be 65 minus the mean, which is 70, divided by 8. So that will just give me what? Okay, so that one will give me minus 0.625. Okay, so that's what I write here, minus 0.625. But remember, only two decimal places. So I round off from here. So that is minus 0.2, minus 0.63. Then on the other side, I want to rationalize that, standardize the 80 to be 80 minus 70 divided by 8. So this will just be 10 over 8. So now 10 over 8 is 1.25. So I write here 1.25. Okay, and then now after I've standardized, I'm going to apply this rule here. So just be probability that Z is less than 1.25 minus the probability that Z is less than minus 0.63. Okay, that's all. Then those probabilities, you just get them from the table, then we are done. So this will just be equals to, what is the probability that Z is less than 1.25? Okay, so let's come here. That is positive Z score table. So Z is less than 1.25. So the 1.2, it's here. So that is the 1.2, 0.05, it's there. So I'm coming to the right like that. I'm coming down like that. And we are going to meet where? We're going to meet there. So that is 0, okay, that is 0.894. 0.8944 minus, what is this? So this is a negative. Okay, if you don't have the z-score, the negative z-score table, change it by symmetry. So you should try it as your own exercise. But me, I'm just going to use the negative z-score table. Okay. All right, so when I go here, the negative z-score table, I'm trying to find the probability that z is less than minus 0.63. Right? So 0.6 is there, and then 3 will be where? So this is 0.00, 0.01, 0.02, 0.03. It's here. So I'm coming down there. And then here I'm going like that. So what is the answer there? 0, okay, 0.2643. So 0.2643. And then we subtract this to get our final answer. So our final answer will be what? 0.8944 minus 0.8643. So this gives me 0.6301. So this here is the probability that X, which is the weight, is actually between, okay, 65 and 80 kg. Okay, but another way, as I said, without rounding off these numbers is use interpolation. But interpolation is quite lengthy and challenging. So the best approach is this one here. All right, so meaning we are done with this question. So if you'd like more videos on probability, statistics, foundation mathematics, NS, pre-med, O-levels, you're free to actually subscribe on our website. We have a lot of videos that can help you. Okay, so our website is discretelearning.com, and you can find the link in the description below here. You also find a link to a video that will guide you on how you create an account, to a video that will guide you on how you actually subscribe and pay for the course. And then you start enjoying, because you can actually watch these videos at any particular time. So for those who want to reach out and subscribe for the lessons, my number is 0779 96 40 and then 10. So that is Tutor Paul Solutions. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Until next time, always there for you.